Hello, these are the walkthrough instructions for the subtotal assignment in Microsoft Excel. So to begin with, we have a couple of pieces. There is the spreadsheet, which you'll need to download and save somewhere, and this is the thing you'll be doing your work in. Then there is a PowerPoint of instructions that I will be using here on screen that we will also follow along with, and you could just follow along with that as well. Once you've downloaded and completed it, you'll come back to this part on Canvas, hit Submit Assignment, upload the spreadsheet. It must be in the XLSX or XLS, that's Excel formats, to upload. So you won't be able to use numbers or something else. Also, no screenshots being submitted. It has to be the actual file. This is a graded assignment, so please take your time and get it right. So let's begin. So I have the spreadsheet, and here is the PowerPoint. So let's go through the slides one by one, and we'll work through it. So we're going to start off then with this spreadsheet. This is a mailing list. I actually found this on the internet somewhere in some unsecured spot. So don't email these people, they're actual people. We're going to download this file, and I want to give it a new name so we know which one we're working in. And that's the one I want to upload. I don't want to upload this mailing list start file that you've downloaded. I want to upload the file that we're saving our work into. So I'm going to find my spreadsheet. And right from the beginning, I'm going to File, Save As, and let's give it a new name. And it's going to be my documents or downloads. Okay, so at this point then, I have the file downloaded. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. Next step. So our first thing we're doing is we're going to be doing working with subtotals. What subtotals are is you can take a large list and break it into groups so I can see how much there are of total or counts or averages and so forth of a grouping of people or numbers or whatever it is. So one of the uses you might use for this could be in sales list. We could use it for an auction. If I had a large list of all these different auction items, and I could then sort it by the sellers, and then I could see what the subtotal and average sale and maximum sale was for each one of those individuals. If I had a mailing list like here, I could break it out by, what we're going to do is by managers and then by the individuals. We could break these out over by the in states maybe and see what the last year's sales was by state. So it allows us to come up with some basic information grouped together and not have to do any math, which is the cool part. It's going to do all that for us. We're just going to do sorting. So subtotals, though, have to be sorted right from the beginning. You have to sort it in the order that you want to get the information out of it. So in this case, we're going to be sorting it by the regional manager and then also the manager. So to begin with, let's go click on A2, the cell A2, or somewhere up there. Then hit your Control key, and while holding that down, tap the letter A. That's going to select all of the data. If you tap it twice, it'll get the entire spreadsheet, and you don't want that. You just want the data set. Then on the Home ribbon, find the Sort and Filter button and click that. So let's go back to our spreadsheet. I'm going to come up here, just click on A2, Control A, and then I'm going to come up to Sort and Filter on the Home ribbon, Home, Sort and Filter, and I'm going to click Filter. Now there's a shortcut key for that actually. It's Control Shift L, and that'll go through and get everything as well. Now, why I select everything first is sometimes I've had it where if I just set the filters, if there's a line missing or a gap in it, sometimes it doesn't grab everybody. So if I go through first and select the area, then there's never a problem. It always knows this is the area I want to be able to sort, filter, and everything. Okay, so our instruction said then to sort first by the regional manager and then the manager. So first then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to put a sort. Now I could do this, but the problem here is if I do regional manager first, then come to manager, it just erases one for the other and it keeps going back and forth. And that's not what I want. I want to do both. So to do an advanced filter, I have to come back over here to filter, sort and filter, custom sort. Let's come back to here. Now the custom sort then will bring up, let me bring that back, sorry. The custom sort brings up this little menu here, and we can add different levels of sorting that we want, and you can change the level of which one comes first. So in this case, we're going to choose the first one to be the regional manager, sorted on what's in the cell, A to Z. Now you could always go the other direction if you had wanted for some reason. Maybe you wanted to have your top producers at the top. Then we're going to do by manager, cell value, A to Z as well. Now this piece here, my data has headers. What that's talking about is these across the top. If that's not selected and it doesn't work out, we didn't have the filters and stuff, what would happen sometimes, it would actually sort that heading column down into the data, and that messes everything up. So let's see. We're going to start off by regional manager, cell value, A to Z, add a level. Now I want to do manager, cell value, A to Z. Let's hit OK. So now we can see all Brenda's people are together, and then inside there we have all of her people grouped together as well, alphabetical. If Bonnie Odell happened to work for another manager, she would also be there, but she would then be grouped inside that manager as well. Okay, so we clicked OK. We did that. So we made sure then that the data set was grouped by the regional managers alphabetically, and then had the managers also grouped together with their regional manager. Now if it didn't work out quite right, hit Control Z and just do it again. That's all. You might have to remove the filters if something's weird happening. Okay. Next. So now we're ready to do the subtotal. Now that we have it sorted by the regional manager and the manager, we can do the subtotaling. So we're going to make sure we have all the data selected. If it isn't still all selected, click somewhere in there and hit Control A. Then you're going to come back up to that data ribbon under Data. Over on the right somewhere, you'll find Subtotal. Now, if you're on a Mac, you may have to hunt around a bit, but it should be in there somewhere. Also, if your screen is smaller, and these big icons might turn into tiny little icons with no words. You may have to hover over them. So I'm going to click somewhere in here. Don't click on the links because that'll try to write an email to them. And again, Data, Subtotal. There. Now, right now it's set up to subtotal by last year's sales and has some other options. We're not going to do any of that. What we're going to do is we're going to set our own criteria, and we're going to do two subtotals. We're going to do one, then come back and do another. So first, on each change of regional manager, we want to use the sum, so regional manager, the sum of last year's sales. And we're going to leave this here because there really isn't any current other one, so that ignores that. And we'll have it do a summary below, and then hit OK. So, not this one, don't have as a department. Change this to regional manager. So every time a new regional manager's name, it'll do a subtotal. By sum of last year's sales, we will leave this, doesn't make a difference really, and it's going to make some summary information way at the bottom. Hit OK. And there it is. Now, what we're going to point out here is that when we go back here, I'm going to look at these buttons that have popped up over on the far left. You can use these to collapse and expand the data. So over here, way over on the far left, if I click 2, there, it's now collapsed just down to those regional managers. So I can see the individual totals by regional manager for each one of these people. So let's think of other things. If I was going to do an auction again, I could go through and have it give me the total by these. I could sort this list instead by the seller. I'm not by the seller, but maybe by the buyer. Then do subtotal on the buyer and see how much each person's individual total is. Now, we get other programs we can do a better job of this, but if you're in a pinch, single spreadsheet, you want to know how much someone owes, we sort it by everybody, do a subtotal, collapse it down, there I have it. He may ask me, and I want to look and see, well, what do they have individually? I can click on the plus sign, and there's these. This is just their stuff. I can click on the plus sign here, and that's just this person's stuff. If I click on 3, it expands everything. I click on 1, it goes down to just the grand total overall. 1, 2, 3. So when we're done clicking around in here, make sure you're back on 3. So now we're going to do another subtotal. We've got it grouped by regional manager, but we also want to group it by manager. How many sales or how much sales did each one of those individual managers have in their areas? So instead then, we're going to go back to that area, back up into the data subtotals, select it again, go back in there, this time choose manager, sum, last year's sales, and this time uncheck this box, because if I leave it checked, it's going to wipe out the one we did and just replace it with the new subtotal. I want both. So here we go. Just click somewhere in here. Don't click on the emails. And I'm going to go to subtotal. Now, if I didn't have this data broken up with these little filters, I might at this point do the Control-A again and select everybody. In fact, I'm going to do that anyways, just to be sure. Okay, subtotals. This time, I'm going to switch it to manager. Sum, yes, sum means the total. Last year's sales. Remember, here's this. We're unchecking that box. I do not want to have that current subtotal there because it'll wipe out all my other subtotals. And then I hit OK. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 little boxes in the corner. If I hit box 3, it drops it down, and I can see here's what Bonnie's total was, Darlene's total, Brenda's total for all of her managers, and so on and so forth. These all go on down. This one here didn't have a manager, so most like Leanne is doing all the work in her district, so it didn't break that one out. We can collapse these down, see each one, open them all up again, open them all up again, and so on. At the very, very bottom, we've got that grand total. That was that last checkbox that said show summary data, and that's down there at the very bottom. So what we have here then is that we've done, like I said, subtotals within subtotals. So now that you're all done with that, go through and click the 4 to see that all of the different folks again. So I don't want anything collapsed. We need to see everything. So back on 4, and you can see everything in here. Now let's do grouping. Grouping is a little different than subtotals. Grouping will allow you to collapse and expand data, but not actually give you any subtotaling information. Uses for this is sometimes you have too much information on the screen. In this case, I have departments, name, mailing address, city, state, zip, email stuff, all this other things when all we really cared about was the regional manager, the manager, and how much money that was involved here. But I don't want to just delete those out because maybe I need to drill down into it someday and see the individual items. So what we're going to do then is we're going to select columns A through G just short of the regional manager, and then go up to select data and click grouping. So A through G. Now you see how I did that? I went to the top and you see the cursor changes. Click, hold, drag it across. I don't want to get regional manager because then it'll collapse too far. So just hold it above, drag it across. Okay, now that I have that, I'll go up to grouping and group, and that was on the data menu. So what that's done is now I have this plus sign. Doop. So now I can collapse it down 2 directions. There's my little totals for just the individual regional managers. There's my total for the manager and regional managers. And if I need to expand it, I can. If I don't want to see that, I collapse it down. So in the end then, you should end up with these different types of grouping. We should have 1, 2, 3, 4 on one side, 1, 2 across the top. This allows me to hide details or see details as I need them, collapse, and so forth. Now subtotals, as it shows here, are a great way to work with large data sets. This could be 100,000 rows and it would work just as fast. If I needed to figure out totals otherwise, I could do it with some fancy formulas, but it would really slow down the spreadsheet. Now, as you notice, though, when we were working through here, it added rows, changed things around. So really what you should do if you're working with important data is to copy that spreadsheet. So before you do all those different things to it, like if it's at an auction, you might go through and do right-click, move or copy, create a copy, and make another copy of this page. Then work on that copy, change all that, and that way the original data doesn't get messed with. If you really mess it up and you want to move backwards, you could go back into that pivot, into the subtotals. Oops, let's get inside there first. And hit remove all. But sorting and some of the other stuff will still be there. So really your best choice was to make another page before diving into all of this. And that's it really. Go ahead and save your file now and upload this file for credit. Thanks, I hope this helped out.